Actors Studio. My name is Jeff Allen Lee. I'm the artistic director of the Young Actors Studio, and we are now starting something called the Spotlight Series, which will feature playwrights, screenwriters, actors, and performers both in and out of the studio. And today I'm very happy to introduce a wonderful actor who's been studying with us for quite a few years now and is on a television show. And his name is Gus Kamp. Hello, Gus.
Hi.
Thank you, Gus.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming. This is going to be fun. We're just going to ask a bunch of questions. Gus is starring on a new television show called
Best Friends Whenever.
Best Friends Whenever. Okay, and there's a role for me in it, playing the goofy dad. I'm just kidding.
That's it.
That's it.
That's the one.
That's the one. That's why he's on the show today. No, we wanted to talk. Could you just tell us a little bit about the work you're doing on the show?
Yeah. So the show, and we started filming about a year ago. It's on Disney Channel, and it's a show. It's a sitcom about time travel, basically. And I play the nerdy, the geeky kid whose name is Barry. And so we've been working on it for about a year, and but in the meantime, I have been still coming to the studio because this is, that's my job, but this is where I learn, and so this is...
That was the thing that sort of spawned this interview for people that didn't know, is that I was sitting in the office one day and he goes, well, this is where I do my work on the show, and this is where I come to do my art. And I was like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah,
so
and
I wanted to talk more about that.
Yeah, and I mean, well, because the show is a blast to make, and it pays the bills. It's a blast to make, and it is my job, and it's where I do my acting professionally, really most of it. But when I want to kind of perfect the craft and work more on the actual art, you have to stay in classes, and you have to continue to learn things, and that's why I come to the studio, and that's the reason I haven't searched for a new acting studio in the last 5 years.
So that's my question, because many young actors who get on Disney shows and they get on television shows and they start having success, even ones that are with us, they kind of phase out of the acting thing, and they'll get a couple television shows, and then they'll have their own show, and they'll have some success, so they figure, why training? And then a lot of times we notice that they don't act anymore at all.
And I think part of that is because they either find something that they want to do more, or because they are used to this consistent work and job security from having their own show, and then when their show concludes or something, they're back into the world of auditioning, and they're back into the world of kind of being out there. And to be out there and continue working, you need to have the skills and the technique to do a broader variety of
Sure.
work.
Sure.
And that's why I keep coming here, is because there's always something more to learn.
Yeah.
And
very cool. As an actor, what are you looking for? What kind of roles are you looking to do now, professionally? And has there been any roles at the studio that have helped you try to go out for those roles in the working world? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I mean, really, I'm not going out for too much now because I am working pretty steadily. Mm-hmm. And of course, as an actor, job security is something that only exists in retrospect, where you can just be like, oh, I had a very secure job back then, but you never know if you're going to get another episode, or if you're going to get another season, or if they're going to cut you for this next episode. Like, you never know when that's going to happen. But with the kind of role that I want to do and want to continue doing, it's all of it. I want to keep doing the comedy, and I want to keep doing the dramatic stuff, and I want to be small, and I want to be big, and I want to do kind of all of that stuff. And I've gotten really and this is probably because of how long I've been at the studio, but I've gotten a really notable diversity in roles that I've been able to work on. And it's something different every semester with the scene that you're doing, and that's something you're not going to be doing this mopey kid or this bouncing off the walls kid year after year.
Right.
You're going to be diversifying, and you're going to be doing different things every semester, and you're going to be getting a new challenge every semester.
Right. I think back on some of the work, like what you did in The Gift was just wonderful work.
That was
some of your most beautiful personal work, and it was very emotional, and it was something different that you normally don't go out for.
Yeah, and that's the kind of work that I really hadn't done before, and I really did like doing that piece. And then the one that I'm doing this semester is kind of a midway between that and, because the semester after I did The Gift, I did Brighton Beach, which is, you're taking this very small...
And that should help with sitcoms.
Absolutely.
Just get the timing, and the comedy, and all that.
And that's using Brighton Beach, and the kind of the timing and the snappiness for that is some training that I use every day at work. If it's a table read, how am I going to do this joke? How am I going to hit the timing on this? And then it's like, I just got to be on the heels of it. I just got to... This is where I'm going to take a pause. This is where I'm not going to take a pause. This is going to be like that. This part I'm going to take a little longer. And doing something like Brighton Beach is, or any Neil Simon really, is excellent for that.
Yeah. And you're working on Esther Arms, right?
Esther Arms,
And that's by, for people that don't know, we have a playwriting series where we're focusing on one of the new upcoming writers who's wonderful, called Becca Brunstetter. And this will go up Friday the 17th at 8 o'clock. And you are starring as a person.
Well, I am a separated Siamese twin.
Siamese twin, yes.
And that is one where I need to memorize my lines quick because it is hard to perform with only one arm to turn a script page.
I remember Andrew's like,
Yeah.
we were watching. You had,
I know I had the one in here.
yeah, and it was,
in my pocket.
all of a sudden, thing comes out and turns the page. For you.
No, I think the ones I can get the.
But it's a very exciting project, and I know she's going to be there, and I'm very proud of some of the work you're doing.
Oh, she is going to be there?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And her friends.
Oh boy. I'm going to do a good job
So-
with that.
Well, anything else you want to say to the people? This is a lot of times, some of this stuff is going to be on the website for kids that are starting out. We get calls from people from all over the country say, I want to be an actor and I really want to do this, and I'm frightened because I don't think I have the talent, or I'm too shy or too emotional, or I don't know. Is there anything you can do to make them feel confident or at ease?
I mean, there are the people who have the talent and don't really care about it, and they'll get kind of far, but they won't get very far. There are the people, though, who maybe wouldn't have as much natural talent, but who care about the art and work at it, and that come every day and they work on the technique. They know what they're doing. They take it very seriously, and those are the people that get the jobs. Those are the people that go in and work is because they care about it and they continue to get better. And if you're not kind of continuing to get better, if you're content with where you are, I'm very good at this, I feel like I'm good at that, you're not going to improve. And
Yeah.
so if you're doing that, you're not going to work. But if you care about it and you come in every day with the desire and the intent to learn something new and
Sure.
improve as an actor, that's what's going to happen. And you're going to work a lot more as a result of that, and you're going to feel a lot more fulfilled as an artist as a result of that.
Very cool. You love acting.
Yeah.
It's your thing.
It's been my thing.
It's in your
since-
soul. It's in your guts. And
Yeah.
why do you
My
think?
entire life.
Because I'm like that too. I have to start. I don't care where I act, even if it's in a black box or
Yeah.
on a big huge stage or on a I just have to do it.
Yeah.
What is it that we have? I always just like to ask
It's-
fellow actors.
I don't know. No one in my family loves it like I do. In fact, my mom has got crippling stage fright. She always hated it. She has nightmares about having to be in plays, and she'll tell me, oh, Gus, I had a terrible nightmare. I had to go up on a stage. And that sounds like a wonderful dream to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Go up and you don't know your lines, you get to make things up. That sounds like a wonderful dream. But I don't know. But it's something I've always told myself that the day I stop loving acting is the day I'll stop doing it. And I haven't even had a hint of that.
That's great.
And I really could just not see myself doing anything else.
Awesome. One thing I wanted with the Young Actors Studio is a place where people can work out, because I was thinking when I was at NYU, I said the great thing was about it is I could always work because the studio was always available to the students, and we provide that here even though they're kids or underage.
Yeah.
But
And no, I think that's there's a lot of trust there because it is your space, and we are kids, and kids, I guess, tend to be rambunctious, or I don't know, but and at the risk of sounding too kind of commercially, that's one of the reasons I really like the studio, is that it is always open, and that it is always somewhere that I can come to work, and that's what's really good about it, is because everybody has different schedules, and you're always going to have a different schedule than your scene partner, or than the person you're working with, or than the person who wrote your scene or is directing it, and being able to come in at any time during the week and just kind of set a time to meet up is really valuable, because you can get the work done.
Right.
And it's, if you look at it like this is something, I have to come here every Sunday,
Right.
then that's not going to be a way for you to get a lot done. But if you're looking at it, it's something like, this is a space that I can take advantage of and that I can use when I need to use, then you're going to be producing some really, really interesting stuff.
now, has that helped bolster your confidence out there?
It does.
By having, because acting has a lot of rejection, has a lot
Yeah.
of auditions, has a lot of producers saying things. You said one time no one's laughing and they're just taking notes on your jokes, and you feel like, wow,
Exactly.
was
And-
that funny? And so
Yeah.
you might not need it as much if you're here exploring and getting the support and falling on your face, having a place where you can make
Yeah.
mistakes and then grow.
Well, that's the thing too, is when I was still auditioning, when I was doing a lot of auditioning, I'd be like, if I have this script that I'm working on, and I want to make a character choice, and maybe I want to yell and scream and I want to punch stuff in this audition, I can't do that at home, I'm going to bother people.
Right.
I can just come here, see what studio's open, and I can just take a little bit of time. Be like, I'm going to use the studio for a little bit, and I'm just going to work on the script. And with things
that's a big thing.
With things
because your mom's going to go,
and
especially for some of the other students. Your mom might be as directed, but when I was a kid, I'd rehearse it in the basement. Honey, that doesn't sound really good. That's really, you should say that line louder. I'm like, oh man. So you get to get away from your parents and really rehearse.
Well, and that's the thing is you come here, you can do the work. If you want a little help, you have teachers here that are experienced acting teachers. And if you want help, you can say, hey, can you come help me with this line? But if you just want to work, you guys, at least in my experience, are respectful of that. And you will be like, okay, well then do the work that you need to do and best of luck on the audition. And
absolutely.
And with something that you can prepare for like that, you feel a lot more confident going into it, and you feel a lot more, you just feel better about your performance as a whole.
Now, at the studio, we bring a lot of different teachers, but it's basically the work of Stanislavski. It's basically the stuff you give to adults, not to kids. Which is sort of the mission of the school. How have you found that that's helped? Like we do sense memory, we do improvisations, we do some voice and movement, but most of it's basically emotional work and stuff like that. How has that helped, both comedically and dramatically?
It just puts you ahead of the curve is the thing, because that's the acting work that if you want to continue acting as an adult, that's what you have to learn if you want to kind of do that work. And they can give you this kind of watered down, lame, kind of dumbed down version as a kid, but that is almost insulting to kind of insinuate that kids maybe can't handle or utilize properly the same techniques that adults do. And when you trust kids and teenagers to say, you know, this is the actual work, and if you want to do it now, this is what you can do. It gives people a huge leg up just in auditions and in feeling like a good actor and in performing like a good actor.
We have something where parents get worried that, they're doing scenes about death and loss and growing up, and it's too much to use real life experience. And then we get the kids that come in and say, wow, it's really good to play these types of roles and have, because you're never playing yourself, it's always disguised in a role. But could you address any of those issues in terms of how that's influenced your life? Or was it, you don't have to talk about your personal experiences, because in the studio that's always private, you never talk about them, but they're usable should you want to paint with them.
Yes, and I think that and probably because of my upbringing and how kind of liberal my parents are, that was never a huge problem. But there are a lot of parents who will say this kind of subject this is touchy in our house, we don't like to talk about this. But if you can take stuff like that and you can create art with it, not only is that valuable as an artist, and not only will that make some beautiful, beautiful work that you can do, but it can be therapeutic, and it can be a way to take the emotions that you've had in these situations and put them into something constructive and something that is
very cool.
Something where you can feel like you haven't just been beaten up by these feelings. You've used them to create, and it's a much better feeling than just kind of floundering in them.
Yeah.
Because when you're having emotions in your day-to-day life, you can't drop one, but you can cover it up. And if you're covering up your emotions in the scene, that's a very organic and human thing to do. Yeah. And so if you're covering your emotions in the scene, you're covering your emotions like a real person would in real life, and you'll end up with a much more layered and textured and thought through performance. It'll be something that's very real to watch, because humans don't have one emotion. They don't have an emotion they're like, I feel nothing but angry right now. No, if there's anger, there's sadness. If there's sadness, there's some sense of loss. Usually it's the layering that's there.
That's brilliant. Who taught you that? Me. Sorry.
I was trying to think of some witty response to that or something would be funny.
No, Kanya or Luke or one of our wonderful teachers. Okay, so let's talk about, we have something new that started in the last year. It's all become a buzz. And it's called the Writer's Lab, where students write and develop their own work. And then there's another offshoot that's happening with Becca Brunstad, which is a play you're going to be starring in, where we're bringing in writers who are really top-notch to inspire the students to continue to write. So, what has been your experience with that so far? I
was there kind of during the inception of the Writer's Lab, of the New Works Lab, and it was kind of still coming together when my show started, and I left the studio for about a year because I was booked up and I was working, and I came back and it had just exploded, and it was great because I've always loved writing, and a lot of actors will look at the scenes that they're given, oh, I wouldn't say this, oh, this doesn't seem like me, and you have to create with that because those are the words, but the ability to have, but the ability to have an environment where you can write your own stuff and the very next day you can see two students who love acting read it and you can hear how the words flow, how they mesh with each other. You can see what it looks like when actors perform something you've written. Not only is it very helpful as a writer, it can help the actors with their cold reading skills, it can help with all of that, and like that's my personal favorite thing that's academically that's come out of the studio in a long time is that New Works Lab, and I think it's only going to get better.
It also empowers you, because I mean, if you want to write your own part, you can write your own part or develop your own work, especially with YouTube and all the things we have available today.
Yeah, because acting,
have
theater.
Have you written anything for the lab?
Yeah, I actually just finished a scene that I'm revising now that I'm going to bring in next week, and we're going to have some people read.
Awesome.
But that's the thing with it used to be with theater and with TV and with movies, it used to be you want to get something done, you have to know the right people, it has to be very good, and it was a high-risk situation.
Right.
But now, with things like YouTube and the studio and all this new media stuff, you can write something experimental and crazy, and you can bring it in and you can see it performed, and it's not a high risk. It's not really a risk at all. The only risk is kind of, what are people going to think of it? But it's a supportive group, and it's people that all have the common interest of becoming better writers and actors together.
Right.
And so putting that together can not only make some really interesting scenes, but can also just really help improve both of those crafts.
Good. On an emotional level, what has the Young Actors Studio done for your life? That's kind of a silly question, but how has it helped your life?
I mean, I don't go to school, and I haven't gone to school in a while, and for a while it was because I was homeschooled, now it's because I've graduated. But there's a social component, and because a lot of actors are homeschooled, there's a social component that you can get at a studio that, like this one, where you're talking to kids your age, and that's very valuable. That's what I think is the most valuable part of school, but you can do it without all the kind of academic stuff that, in my opinion, after like 9th or 10th grade is just kind of extra. It's kind of gravy at that point. And you can do it where you're learning something you're passionate about and that everyone there is passionate about. And you're going into a social situation knowing that you have one big thing in common with all of these other people. And that's one of the biggest ways that it helped me is I didn't know people, and being here I do know people.
Yeah, very cool. All right, anything else we should say about the Young Actors Studio and Gus Kamp? When's your show on? What night? What day?
It's on Sundays at 8:30, but it's been
8:30.
Sporadic and is when it's been coming out. But we're filming season 2 now.
Cool.
And
congratulations.
And so they will start coming out relatively soon, and it's good.
And then hit up with the Rebecca Brunstetter play on the 17th at 8 o'clock.
Yes.
And there'll be a whole bunch of new pieces being performed, original work by one of the hottest writers in town right now.
She's very good.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. Gus, thank you so much for taking
Thank
the time to meet with us and to do this.
Absolutely.
And we wish you all the best. You're a great artist. Yay.